Did you know that Americans are planning to spend $771 on average this holiday season? That's almost $800 per person, and most of it goes on credit cards. Also, did you know that a lot of vendors on places like Amazon will raise their prices 30 to 60 days before the big sale, before Black Friday, and then drop them back to normal and call it a discount? In this episode, we're going to teach you how to actually save money versus getting manipulated by retailers who study consumer psychology for a living. I'll show you exactly how I save hundreds every Black Friday using a simple system anyone can copy. So the key thing to remember here is that holiday shopping doesn't require going into debt or feeling guilty in January when the bills arrive. You don't need 47 different apps, 12 credit cards with rotating categories, or a PhD in couponing to save real money. And here's the thing, those $59.99 original prices slashed to $26.99 never actually existed. Retailers create fake anchors to make you think you're getting a deal. My personal system relies on one main tool plus a few smart strategies that take 10 minutes to set up. Every dollar you save on holiday shopping is a dollar that can grow for your future instead of padding corporate profits. Now, we're recording this episode before the shopping frenzy so you can prepare instead of react emotionally. I say this because I'm recording this in very early November, but by the time it gets edited, some of these places are starting their Black Friday shopping in the middle of November. So I'm hoping this episode reaches you before then. But if not, it's still okay, even if you've already bought things. You can do some tweaks, some adjustments here, or you can just apply this next year. It's all the same. And who does this actually help? Anyone who's just tired of the January credit card hangover where you realize you spent way more than you intended. So we want to transform our audience from panic buyers who grab deals impulsively to strategic savers who only buy genuine discounts for things that they need and for gifts if that's what you're really into. And this all comes with a real savings potential. You can save 30 to 50% on things you were already planning to buy, okay? Not junk you don't need just because it's on sale, but things you were already planning to buy. So either things for yourself, gifts for others, whatever the case is. And here's the thing. At this time of the year, retailers are deliberately exploiting a sense of urgency, a false one, but still a sense of urgency, and FOMO, the fear of missing out, to make you spend more than you planned. And holiday overspending can delay your financial independence goals by months because that money could have been invested instead. So let's talk about the holiday shopping psychology trap. Retailers aren't offering deals out of generosity. They're not doing it out of the kindness of their hearts. And there's a reason this event is called Black Friday, and we'll get into that in a second. But they're using massive discounts as bait to get you in the store or on the website where you'll buy additional full price items you weren't planning to purchase. The doorbuster mentality, think about that. Think back in the past, even before COVID. They used to have these doorbuster deals. For example, Walmart or Target would have a TV that was $99 or some ridiculous deal. And they only had maybe 10 of them, but they'd advertise them on the circular. So there would be a line around the building forming the night before to get one of 10 doorbuster deals. That mentality, it creates artificial scarcity to trigger panic buying. It makes you think that if you don't act now, you'll miss out forever, even though most items will be restocked. There are a lot of other shady things they'll do. Like, for example, they'll make that TV, the one that's $99, they'll strip out every possible feature from it. And it really is worth $99 at that point. But you're mentally thinking, oh, this is the same as a $500 or $1,000 TV, but it's not. The other thing they like to do is time limited offers. It's the reason they do the Black Friday and the Cyber Monday, and you always see the clock up on the screen. It's trying to scare you. The time limited offers are specifically designed to bypass your rational thinking and trigger the impulse purchases before you can comparison shop or check if you actually need the item. Think about that for a second. You're on the website, you see a timer counting down, and you look at something, you know you need to buy it or you want to buy it. But that timer is going to create this sense in your brain that, oh, I cannot go comparison shop. I can't look at other websites. I can't do this. I can't do that. I need to grab it now because the timer is going to zero. That's all intentional. You need to ignore all of that. Your brain actively fights against waiting for better deals because it's wired to value immediate rewards over delayed gratification. This is a larger problem in all of our society in America and even in globally for that matter. But this whole thing about immediate gratification over delayed gratification, the retailers exploit that ruthlessly. So when you see these kind of tricks, remember this podcast. It's all trying to get you to buy now, and in most cases, buy things that you didn't actually want to buy. Let me throw a couple of statistics and facts your way. The National Retail Federation predicts spending will reach record levels this year at $771 per person, which is $25 more than last year's already inflated numbers. 183.4 million people are planning to shop from Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday, creating a herd mentality and competition for limited stock. Research shows that most sales aren't real discounts at all. They're normal prices marked down from artificially inflated original prices that no one has ever paid, at least not anyone with a brain. So here are some behavioral traps to watch out for. The fear of missing out kicks in when you see only 3 left in stock, even though you didn't want the item 5 minutes ago. Social pressure amplifies when everyone around you is shopping and sharing their deals on social media. Anchoring bias makes a $50 item seem like a steal when it's marked down from $120, even if it's never sold for more than $50 before. And then decision fatigue sets in after looking at hundreds of deals, making you more likely to buy impulsively than just to end the mental exhaustion and move on. So, how do we beat a system designed by behavioral psychologists to separate you from your money? Let me share my exact strategy. The Amazon list strategy. So here's what I do. I keep a running list all year long of the items I want, but I don't need immediately. This prevents impulse buying during sale seasons, but the bigger reason is these are things that I know that I need down the road, but I just don't need them right now. I put them in there and then I wait until Black Friday to see if they go on sale. If they do, I'll grab them. If they don't, I won't buy them unless I need them at that point, right? So I'm very much one of those buy it when you need it. However, if you know you're going to need it down the road, see if you can catch a sale along the way. Doesn't always work out. Sometimes it does. Organized by categories. Tech upgrades you're considering, that's one list. Household items that would be nice to replace, that's another list. Quality tools you'd use, that's another list. Books you may want to read or movies you want to buy physical copies of, that's another list. You can put it all in one list if you want to. I actually just use one list, but I know people like to split things into lists, so organize it by categories. And then review your list the week before Black Friday and ask yourself if you still want each item or if the desire has passed. Now, one thing to keep in mind here is there's 2 ways to do the listing. One of them is, and it's the way I do it, I put everything in Amazon under a list there. But if you didn't want to do that, let's say you don't use Amazon or you don't want to use Amazon or you use something else, you can literally create a list anywhere else. You can write it down in a notebook if you want to. You can keep it in a Word document. You can keep it in Apple Notes, Google Keep, whatever. It doesn't matter. 2 different ways of having a list. One of them is you put it inside the retailer's own portal, which is what I do, because generally I buy a lot of things from Amazon just because they're cheaper and they show up at the door. But if you're not that person, you can do it the other way. Now, once you have your list ready, remember, you only buy items from your list if they're genuinely discounted according to price tracking tools, not just because the retailer says it's a sale. And I'll use Amazon as an example here again, because I buy most of my online things through Amazon. I do get some through other vendors here and there, but mainly it's from Amazon for many reasons, business being one of them, that I want everything in one place so I can track the finances and all that kind of stuff. But there is a website out there, if you've not heard about it yet, it's called Camel. And I know that sounds weird, but yes, it's camel as in the animal that is in the desert. 3 of them, camel.com. This tool is amazing. Number one, it's free website, right? And it exposes fake sales by showing you the complete price history of any Amazon product. This is awesome. You'll see sellers raising prices 30 to 60 days before Black Friday, then dropping them back to normal and calling it a 70% discount, a 60% discount, a 30% discount, whatever it is. Now, here's the thing. It's super simple to use too. You open camel.com in one browser tab. You open Amazon in the other browser tab. Then all you do is find the thing you want on Amazon, go to the top of your browser, copy the URL, the domain with all the stuff after it, copy it and just paste it into camelcamelcamel.com and hit enter. What you'll see is a graph showing what the item has actually sold for over the past months or years. This graph is great because it shows you many things. The first thing it shows you is that, here's the price history of this thing. But you can look for things in there. You can look for seasonal patterns because many products drop to their lowest prices at the same time every year. For example, during Prime Day and during Black Friday, they may drop to the lowest prices of the year every year. So then you know when to buy it because that's when they're going to put it at its lowest price. You can also install the browser extension if you want to see the price history instantly while you're browsing Amazon without having to switch tabs. I don't personally do this. I try to keep my extensions to a minimum just because of a security issue. Not that I've had one with any of these things, but that's just my thing. I'm a retired cybersecurity guy, so security is always the first thing in my mind. But if you're okay with having their extension, and as far as I know, it's legitimate, there's nothing wrong with it, it's not malware, you can put it in there and it'll show you this information live while you're browsing Amazon. If you're not okay with it, do what I said, open it in a different tab and just copy and paste between them. Not that much more work, and you keep your browser clean from extensions. Now, here's the other thing you can do that's great. Camel 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 is not just a once a year thing where you go look during Black Friday for a sale. You can go in there anytime, put an item in there, and then set an alert. This is actually what I do. So if there's something that I know it goes on sale for 30, 40, 50% off at some point during the year, I will go to Camel Camel Camel, set an alert to alert me when the price has dropped below a certain threshold. So for example, let's say I'm looking for 50% off, and I know that happens from time to time. I'll put an alert to come to me when it reaches 40% off, because generally what's going to happen is they're not going to lower it to 40%. At the point where it's going to go to 50%, it's just going to go straight to 50, which is automatically going to trigger because that's more than 40% off. And I get an alert sent to my email. And if it's something that I know I need or I know I need soon, I can grab it as soon as the sale is there. So you can do this all year round. However, for Black Friday, it's incredibly helpful to look in there to see if the price you're seeing on Amazon is in fact a sale, or if it's just one of those marked up things that they then quote unquote discount so that you buy it. As far as when to actually buy, the best discounts vary by category and by timing, right? Thanksgiving weekend typically has the best discounts on toys and furniture. Black Friday is best for TVs and large electronics. Cyber Monday beats everything for smaller electronics and clothing. Right? And so let's talk a bit about why it's called Black Friday. The holiday season is usually when everybody would pile into stores, buy all kinds of things, and that would now turn their balance sheet into the black, meaning they were now in the profitable territory. And for the remainder of the year, they were pretty much in the black, in profit territory. So that's why it was called Black Friday. Cyber Monday came out later because it was one of those things where they said, well, Black Friday is traditionally associated with brick and mortar retail stores. Not anymore, I realize that. But that was the case back in the day. So Cyber Monday was kind of the online retailer's way of saying, hey, we have an event too. Black Friday doesn't really apply to us. Here's our own thing. But here's the bigger thing to realize. Once you pass Black Friday and Cyber Monday, now you're in the doldrums where nothing is happening, right? So you pass Cyber Monday, now you're heading up to Christmas. So yes, there are going to be plenty of deals and discounts on things, but you had the bigger ones go by, and now it's, here's what's left of inventory. We just need to get rid of it. As you get closer to Christmas, those prices will drop more. And the day after Christmas, you'll see prices just go through the floor because they want things out of inventory before the new year hits. So think about that in terms of like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, where you're kind of doing your buying. Waiting until the second week of December. So again, we are now past Black Friday. We're past Cyber Monday. We're now into the second week of December. That is the best time for discounts as retailers panic about leftover inventory, right? So they were counting on selling so much during Black Friday and Cyber Monday. If they sold all of that, great, they're not panicking. But a lot of times they don't sell everything they intended to during that time. So now they're panicking because they don't want inventory on their hands. So they start discounting more and more. So if you want to wait a little bit longer, you can do that. Again, this is for things that you don't really need right away. If there's something that you really need and it's on sale during Black Friday or Cyber Monday, you probably should just get it then. But again, use your own judgment with that. And then the last thing you want to do when looking at when to actually buy, track patterns from previous years using Camel's historical data to predict when your specific item will hit rock bottom. Now, if you want personalized help setting up your own tracking system for your specific shopping goals and stuff like that, in other words, you want to help me implement my system with you or for you, that's something I can walk clients through in the coaching sessions that I provide. All of the information is on the main website at the very top towards the middle, Simple Finance Coaching One-on-One. Just click on that. All the information's there as far as how to get a hold of me and all that kind of good stuff. Now, here's another part of my strategy for saving money overall. Okay, so this isn't just specific to Black Friday and Cyber Monday, although it will apply here too, because these things I'm going to talk about have additional discounting that happens around these holidays. So the main strategy here is around what is called Amazon Renewed. Okay, so Amazon Renewed is a category that's applied to items that have been returned, refurbished, or open box products that have been professionally inspected, tested, and cleaned by Amazon qualified suppliers, not random people. Now, I will say this up front, take all of that with a grain of salt because there are plenty of stories online of people who have become quote unquote Amazon qualified and are still sending out junk. Read the reviews, look at the stars, do your due diligence. But I have not had bad experiences buying Amazon Renewed. As a matter of fact, I prefer to buy Amazon Renewed over just buying off of somebody on Facebook Marketplace or whatever the case is, because generally speaking, those are usually other small businesses. So you're doing business with small business and helping build small business, but you have the Amazon protection wrapped around it. And that's the key part. Because as I said, there are plenty of stories online of people getting junk when this happens. Amazon will fix it. So unlike if you buy something off of somebody on Facebook Marketplace and then discover later that something else is wrong with it, too bad. That's the way it is. Whereas with Amazon Renewed, you check it out, make sure it's good when you get it. And if you have a problem, Amazon will go ahead and take care of you. Now, here's the cool thing. It's for a long time, not years, but 90 days. So the one thing I want to point out here, let's back up a second. There are quality standards for Amazon Renewed. So whether or not there are visible cosmetic defects when viewed from 12 inches away, all that kind of stuff. So you can read through all about what Amazon Renewed is on their website, but basically it makes it easy for you to find a product that's been, refurbished or whatever the case is, the quality of it, and then it includes Amazon protection. So every Amazon Renewed item comes with a minimum 90-day guarantee and may include up to a year. So it depends on what it is. So you're not taking that much risk, right? And then as far as the savings potential here, you can save somewhere between 30 and 70% off of retail prices on items, right? And they function exactly the same way as the new ones. So it's real money back in your pocket. This is the superpower here. I use this for electronics all the time. My backup iPhone is one of my older iPhones that I don't use anymore. But one of my business lines is actually a Pixel 7 Pro that I bought off of Amazon about a year ago, renewed after Black Friday, got it super cheap, and it's been an excellent phone. It was in immaculate condition. So again, Amazon Renewed. Now, there are many different categories for Amazon Renewed. So let's talk about some of the best renewed categories. Electronics are the biggest winners. Smartphones, tablets, and laptops often look and perform like new. Okay, that's the important thing here. Like new, but cost hundreds less. So you're not buying somebody's old junk. These are good quality devices that still work. Small appliances like blenders, coffee makers, and air fryers, they all work perfectly, and you'll never notice they were previously owned. Most of these are open box returns for whatever reason. Very few of them were used and then, put back out. So just think about that. Tools and outdoor equipment get returned by people who use them once. I know that sounds crazy, but it happens. So you're essentially getting new tools at huge discounts. Home office equipment like monitors, printers, webcams, office chairs. These are all great because functionality matters more than pristine appearance. As a matter of fact, let me give you kind of a personal anecdote here. I am a huge believer in the Herman Miller Aeron chair. Brand new, those chairs can cost anywhere from $1,000 to I think $1,500 nowadays. But here's the thing, you can find them used for fractions of the price. Almost any time an office shuts down that was in a large office building and they had these type of chairs, a liquidation company will come and buy up all the inventory of chairs and desks and all those kind of things, and they will sell them for pennies on the dollar. So the chair I'm sitting on right now, which is a Herman Miller Aeron recording this podcast, would have cost $1,200 brand new. I paid $250 for the chair. So buying used home office equipment is generally a good buy. Here are some other money-saving tactics. Gift cards. And I know this sounds weird because so many scams happen with gift cards nowadays, but remember that there are digital and physical gift cards. I tend to stay away from the physical ones, like the ones you buy in the stores, because those ones are the ones that have the highest amount of fraud possibility. But, it just varies. I've had several of those from Target be frauded, so I don't buy them anymore. But digital ones, like the ones you can get on Amazon.com, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, a lot of these places you can buy the digital versions as well. If you're buying them directly from the main company, the likelihood of a fraud is very, very low. But during this time of the year, gift cards will often have 20% off at retailers, again, like Target and Best Buy. So buying a $100 gift card for $80 before shopping gives you instant savings on top of the sale prices. But here's the other reason I love gift cards: subscription services. So let's say you like to watch Disney Plus, but you don't want to pay $20 a month and you don't want to have to keep calling to cancel and you don't want to have to keep doing all this stuff. You can buy the $20 gift cards or whatever you want to buy. You pick the dollar denomination, you figure out the subscription you want, how much it is per month, do a little bit of math there, and then come back with what you need. So let's say $20 a month for Disney. So you buy 5 $20 digital gift cards for Disney at 20% off. You only put in one at a time into your Disney account. In other words, you remove your credit or debit card so they cannot auto bill you, and you load it with the gift card. Turns your service back on. The minute that gift card runs out, the balance on it. So let's say the month cost you 20 and the gift card was 20. Well, basically that's a 1 month auto cancellation, auto turn off. You don't have to call. You don't have to talk to a human being. You don't have to navigate this crazy website that doesn't want you to cancel. It literally just cancels itself. Gift cards are clutch in so many ways. Just be careful with buying physical ones at the retailers. Try to do digital as much as possible because of the fraud. Again, I've had to deal with it a handful of times. It is super annoying. Yes, I eventually got it rectified. I got my money back, whatever the case was, but it wasn't worth it. When you consider these gift cards were, $20 here, $50 there, the amount of time I had to spend to get that money back, not worth it. So try to do digital if possible. The other way to do it is through cashback sites like Rakuten and Top Cashback. Rakuten is one I actually use and I recommend. There will be a link in the show notes. It's actually a referral link for Rakuten. These ones give you 2 to 10% back on purchases, which stacks with the sale prices and credit card rewards if you're using credit cards. So you can kind of triple stack here on the savings if you know what you're doing. Again, happy to talk about this anytime. You can ping me on social media. I'll answer any questions. Again, all the links for the socials and everything will be in the show notes. But if you need a one-on-one coaching session to help you figure this out and get you on the right path, you know where to find it on the website. The other thing is browser extensions. Now, I'm going to mention these, but before I do, I'm going to tell you up front that I am not a fan of browser extensions. Again, this is a me thing. I'm a retired cybersecurity guy. I don't like having all these kinds of extensions in the browsers just because of the kind of things that they have access to and the privacy concerns. But if you're okay with that, browser extensions like Honey and Capital One Shopping automatically apply coupon codes at checkout, and they compare prices across different stores without extra effort. So on the one hand, you'll save time, you'll save money, but you'll give up in terms of privacy and potential cybersecurity issues. So I will leave that to you and your judgment, but I did want to mention them because I know some people are perfectly fine with those. The other thing is chat with customer service when you're ready to check out. Sometimes they have additional promo codes they can apply that aren't advertised publicly. And I'm going to stick another one on the end of this one, even though it's about chatting with customer service. It's called abandoning your cart. This is something I do all the time. It doesn't really work with Amazon, I'll tell you that much. But with a lot of these other independent retailers, so just give you an example. Let's say you're going to underarmour.com, right? So you can buy Under Armour at any sporting goods store in America and their websites. You can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on Walmart. You can also buy directly from Under Armour. And here's the thing. If you go onto a website of the retailer themselves like that, and you fill the cart up with whatever you want, but you don't buy it, you then close the website and walk off. As long as you already created an account or you have your email somehow tied to that basket, that online shopping cart, just watch. They will start sending you discounts, whether it's coupon codes, whether it's whatever, to get you to come back and complete that purchase. So I routinely abandon my cart on purpose, close the tab out and just wait. And within a day or two, sometimes within minutes, you'll get an email saying, hey, you didn't complete your transaction, blah, blah, blah. Here's a 20% off discount code. It's another way to do it. And then the last thing, and this is getting more towards, I think of it as the digital version of the coupon clippers. There's this kind of this movement out there, if you want to call it. It's been around since, I guess, the 80s, where they're clipping coupons for buying processed junk food at grocery stores. Now, the same thing can apply in the digital realm, and we call it stacking. So stack your discounts strategically, right? So you have a cashback site like Rakuten, and then that retailer may have a coupon code for, Black Friday sale. Put that in there too. Then there's a sale price that's happening for whatever reason. Great. And then if you have a credit card that gives you a boost on Rakuten's own Amex, or say you're using another card that's linked with Rakuten, you can stack all of that together. And even though we're talking about cash back on the rewards or whatever, and the cashback site, cash is fungible, money's fungible, right? So whether you're getting cash back or getting a discount off the price, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the same net effect happens. And then if you're stacking it right, you can easily hit 40% or more in total savings. So just think through that. Again, any of this you have questions on, feel free to ping me on social media or schedule a one-on-one session. I'll be happy to walk through it with you. So it's kind of obligatory that I throw in what I call my prepaid lifestyle segment here, because we've talked a lot about spending money. Even though we've talked about saving money, all of it involves spending money that we were going to spend anyway, right? And sometimes you treat yourself. You weren't going to spend it anyway, but maybe you deserve it, and I don't mean that to be taken out of context or like, oh, I deserve everything on this earth. It's like, no, you know what? You had a major accomplishment. You want to take yourself out, have a nice dinner. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, oh, I graduated from school, I'm going to go buy a Mercedes. No, not on this podcast. So when I talk about the prepaid lifestyle, the core principle here is only buy what you can afford to pay cash for right now, not what you'll think you'll be able to afford later. Think about that. I'm not saying not to buy anything. Buy whatever you want, but only what you can afford to pay for cash right now, not what you think you'll be able to afford later. Whether or not you're using a credit card to do the transaction itself is irrelevant here. This is, do you have the cash in your bank account to pay that credit card off immediately? Then yes, you're within the prepaid lifestyle. If you're thinking about punting it to January, no, don't do it. You also want to avoid financing offers, even at 0% interest, because it's still debt, right? You're still owing somebody, and it limits your future flexibility and creates psychological pressure. Anything can happen before that 0% thing is paid off, including a job loss. And again, with our system, we're set for that, but you don't want to be in that place. You don't want to have trailing debt to anybody in this world, really, to be honest with you. So the other thing is, and I think this one's kind of obvious, but I'm going to say it anyway because this is the type of podcast this is, save throughout the year specifically for holiday shopping if it is your thing, right? I am generally against people spending all this money during the holidays. I don't like the fact that it's a retail holiday at this point, but I realize for some people, that's very core to the experience, and it's like their one bit of joy in the year. So I don't want to take that away from you. What I would rather do is say, save up throughout the year. Let's say you're one of these individuals that's going to spend $800 right at the end of the year. Or let's say it's $1,200 because you're really into Christmas. Save $100 a month. Put it away in a separate savings account so that you have the cash on hand to do your Christmas shopping. You charge it all on your credit card, you pay it off, or you use your debit card, whatever the case is, but you're not going to owe money. And here's the most important thing. You're not going to pay interest on any of this, right? You don't want to borrow from your future income. You never want to pay a penny of interest to anyone in this world for any reason if you can help it. Okay, so let's be clear about that. I realize not everybody can do that, but if you can help it, avoid it at all costs. All right, so let's talk a little bit about implementation and kind of protection now. So you want to do a little bit of pre-shopping preparation before Black Friday gets here. Set your firm total budget before the shopping season starts. If you could do it before November, ideally, that'd be great. But if you're listening to this podcast now, that has passed, but Black Friday still hasn't happened. So set your firm total budget before the shopping event starts while you're thinking rationally, not in the heat of the deal season, right? Because you're going to start seeing influencers just going off around this time and YouTubers who you didn't see very much of over the last month, just creating videos every day or every hour of all the Amazon deals. So set your budget before all of that happens. Make a specific shopping list with the individual price limits for each item so you know exactly when something is actually a good deal. You can do all the research on Camel ahead of time, and you'll know, again, for Amazon. But you can do it really for anything nowadays. As a matter of fact, you can go into any of the AIs and ask them to track the historical price of this item over the last year for whatever, and they'll give you that answer. They'll give it back to you, right? So there are many ways to do this. But the point is, make sure you know what the prices are on a normal basis so you know whether or not the sale you're looking at is actually a good deal or one of these fake ones. Use price tracking tools, and if you're comfortable with it, browser extensions right now so they're ready to use when the sales start. Meaning start using them now to do your research, install them now. Don't wait until the actual sales event happens and then you forget and you're not paying attention and then it's just downhill from there. This is a little bit for my overachievers here. This is something I do, but I admittedly am a nerd and a wonk for finance, so that's why I do it, and I don't expect everyone to do it. But I know some of you are kind of nerdy in this way, so start monitoring prices on your wish list items today to establish baseline pricing before retailers start manipulating the numbers. That's the key thing. Some of them are already manipulating them, and so you're going to have to use the price tracking tools. But if you start looking now, you're ready when the actual sales event comes. And then the other thing is consider withdrawing your budget in physical cash to shop in stores. Now, this is kind of crazy because we're all about digital everything and we're all online. But if you did it in physical stores, it creates a psychological barrier against overspending. There's a lot different of a psychological process that happens when you take cash out of your pocket and hand it to a cashier. And it doesn't matter whether it's a Target, Walmart, or any other local small business. It's the same psychological effect. You actually feel the spending. So if you know you're someone that struggles with that, try it. Try it out. See how it works. You may find out that you like it. The other thing here is to check multiple retailers using tools like Google Shopping and PriceGrabber, because Amazon doesn't always have the best price despite their marketing. So if you really want to like fan out and look at other options, do that. Again, I generally buy most of my online stuff from Amazon because, again, the prices are usually either the lowest or they're low enough that even if they're not quite the lowest, period, the fact that I have it all in one interface going through one portal and it's delivered in 2 days or less, and I have all my finances in one place, like it just makes it so much easier. The simplicity, that's what I'm looking for here. That's the word I'm looking for here. The simplicity is why I use Amazon. And don't get me wrong, I have issues against them as a corporation and a whole bunch of other things, but I hope they fix all that stuff. Anyway, Amazon doesn't always have the best price despite their marketing. So if you really want to look at other places, use Google Shopping or PriceGrabber. Again, verify every sale with the price history tools before buying anything. It literally takes 30 seconds, 30 seconds or less, but it can save you from fake discounts. Avoid shopping when you're tired, hungry, or drinking. Think about that. All three of those are going to limit your impulse control and decision-making abilities. They're going to impair you for different reasons: tired, hungry, or drinking. So don't shop when you're any of those three. Use a separate email address just for retailer accounts to protect your primary email from spam and potential security breaches. This is something that I will admit I do not do. And I should do it. And I know I should do it. And it will be much better to do it. The problem for me is that I don't do business with a lot of new and different retailers. I primarily do it through maybe the same 5 over and over again. And they've had my personal email address for a decade or decades at this point. There's no way to change it, right? It's over at this point. So I cannot get out of it. But again, if you're someone who's really savvy about this kind of stuff, technology and security and privacy, there's a tip for you. And then check your cart once more before the final checkout and ask yourself if you'd buy each item at full price. If not, it's probably not a good deal. And I know that sounds a little bit counterintuitive, but let me explain that. When you have an item in your cart and you're thinking of buying it, and it's 50% off. And you ask yourself, would I buy this thing at full price? And your answer is no. What that is telling you is that you don't actually need or want that thing and you don't value it at its full price. So you probably should not buy it, right? The discount is what's causing you to buy it, not the product itself, not what it does for you, not anything like that. It's the discount. And that is kind of like a mental shortcut to figure out, am I buying this because I actually want it? Or am I buying it because I want the discount or I feel the savings are just too good to pass up? Buy the item because you want it or need it, not because of the discount. Here's another one. Now, I'll say before I say this point that I am not one of those people that's dogmatic about debit cards or credit cards. I use both on a daily basis. They're both great. There's a lot of FUD out there of fear, uncertainty, and doubt about using debit cards because of potential fraud or using credit cards because you're just going to spiral into debt. You know yourself better than anyone else. If you know you shouldn't be using credit cards, don't use them. Use debit cards. And don't be afraid of what everybody's telling you about the fraud. There are plenty of good debit cards out there that have zero fraud liability. But the point is, if you are someone who uses credit cards, use credit cards instead of debit cards for purchase protection and fraud liability limits, right? Again, debit cards are fine. Credit cards are easier. And then you get points or whatever. But here's the most important part about using a credit card. Pay off the full balance every single month. Do not carry a balance. Do not pay interest, right? If you are in that point, if you are at the point where you're paying interest on credit cards, stop using them. Use debit cards and just pay off those credit cards. Credit cards are not for you, right? But otherwise, they're generally a better form of payment to use because they have, good protections. And it isn't about the protections. That's kind of a misnomer. Most debit cards have zero fraud liability and they have fraud liability limits in place. And it's generally not as scary as people say it is. But with a debit card, at the end of the day, it's attached to a bank account and that is your money. So when that disappears, you have to deal with the bank. You have to get them to give you your money back and hope that that money wasn't earmarked for rent or that the bank is having trouble getting back to you. Whereas with the credit card, that is the bank's money. It is their problem. When you tell them there was a fraud on this card for $500, you're not expected to pay that. The bank is expected to figure out what happened, and that money did not come out of your checking account. Therefore, you're not going to be short on rent or whatever the case is. So there are reasons for using credit cards. I know I went off on a tangent on this bullet point, but I kind of want to put that out there because I've been seeing a lot of bad takes on social media recently about credit cards versus debit cards. You want to avoid sketchy third-party sellers on Amazon and other marketplaces. Stick with shipped and sold by Amazon or verified major resellers, right? It's really just to avoid fraud or just a bad customer service experience. The other thing is you need to watch for phishing emails disguised as deal alerts because scammers know people are expecting shopping emails during this season. So be careful with the emails that are coming in your inbox. The other thing, and we say it at the end of every podcast episode, but it is a bullet here, enable two-factor authentication on all shopping accounts before Black Friday to make sure that you don't have account takeovers and other kind of fraud, right? So if you use Amazon, make sure you have two-factor authentication turned on where it either texts you a code or emails you one, whatever the case is. And I'll throw it in here. If you haven't done it yet, make sure your email has two-factor authentication and all of your bank accounts, all of your financial accounts. Just throwing that in there. And then the last thing is, monitor your credit card and bank statements closely throughout the holiday season and report any suspicious charges within 24 hours. Now, here are some common pitfalls to avoid. Fake discounts with inflated original prices that make you think you're saving even when you're actually paying normal price or more. We already talked about it, but that's a common one. Buying something solely because it's on sale rather than because you actually need or want it before seeing the sale. Opening store credit cards for the instant discount when they charge 25 to 30% interest rates that will cost you far more if you carry a balance. I'm going to actually take a stance on this one. Never open a store credit card. And I probably should be more clear on that. I have the Amazon Prime Visa, again, because most of my online ordering is through Amazon and I get at least 5% back on everything. During these times like Black Friday, it's often 6 and 7% because I'll delay the shipping a little bit. And that is a store credit card. I'm talking about retail stores like Macy's, Old Navy. Never get those credit cards. They are a complete ripoff. Just stay away from store credit cards in general. Not worth it. The other thing is extended warranties are almost always never worth it. And I say almost always because there are some areas where I do believe an extended warranty is valuable. So generally speaking, I never buy extended warranties, especially when they cost 20 or 30% of the product price, because they almost never pay out, especially not more than they cost. The one area where I always go against this is with my Apple devices, specifically my portable ones, laptops, iPhones, iPads, whatever, earbuds. I'll generally get the Apple Care thing for the first 2 years, just to, if anything happens to it in the first 2 years, they will cover it. The Apple Care price is not so expensive that it's, more than 20 or 30%. And with Apple, it's very easy to take it in there. They will either fix it on the spot, swap it out for a new one, and you're off on your merry way. Those are the only things I buy extended warranties on. Everything else I do not, because they're generally a ripoff. They're a profit center for the retailer, so stay away from those. Now, we've gone through a lot of content in this podcast. If you're overwhelmed by all of these strategies, don't worry. There will be an article accompanying this podcast episode that has this all written down. So you don't have to remember it. You can just go read the article. But if you need help and you want one-on-one coaching with it, go to the Simple Finance Bites website, click on Simple Finance Coaching One-on-One, and schedule a session, and I can help you figure all this stuff out, whether it's a personalized shopping and savings plan or whatever the case is. I can do that. So let's talk about some key takeaways from today's episode. Real savings come from having a strategy and sticking to it, not from falling for fake sales designed to manipulate you. The single most important action is to use price history tools before buying anything over $20, so you know if it's actually a discount. And then start building your wish list right now if you don't already have it. Begin tracking those prices today and only buy when you see genuine historical lows. Thanks for listening to Simple Finance Bites today. I appreciate you spending your time with me. Quick reminder, this is financial education and general information, not personalized financial advice for your specific situation. See the disclaimer in the show notes. And please subscribe to the show and leave a review if this episode helped you. It helps other people find these strategies and all of our content. Visit simplefinancebites.com for full show notes with clickable links to all the tools and resources I mentioned. And don't forget to sign up for my monthly newsletter. The one for November just went out on November the 1st. It goes out every first of the month. It has additional money-saving tips for the holiday season in the last one. So if you go sign up today and I see a bunch of signups all of a sudden, I'll just kick that newsletter out one more time to the new people so that you can get the money-saving tips. But really, everything was covered in this podcast episode. The nice thing is if you're on the newsletter, you get access to a bunch of other content that doesn't actually make it on the podcast because of the time constraints, and sometimes doesn't even make it on the website. And then download your free Simple Finance System blueprint through the newsletter. So when you sign up for the newsletter, there will be a link inside of there to a free PDF document that is the blueprint, right? So sign up for the newsletter, the whole point of that. And then another last little spiel here that I throw into every podcast episode, again, being a former cybersecurity guy, which is enable two-factor authentication on all your shopping accounts before Black Friday to protect against account takeovers. Use unique passwords for each retailer. I know it's annoying, but password reuse is how accounts get compromised. If you have a problem with that, you look into a password manager. If you have questions about password managers, ask me on social media. I will happily give you recommendations. So do not reuse passwords across different websites. That is the easiest way to get hacked. Be skeptical of deal emails and verify by going directly to the retailer's website rather than clicking on the links in the email. And the last thing, protect your money while you're saving money. Security is part of smart shopping. With that said, again, thank you for being with me today on Simple Finance Bites, the podcast, and I'll catch you in the next episode.